I studied philosophy as an undergrad at university, and the two areas that I was really fascinated by were ethics and classics, because when you go back to the ancient philosophers, the world was really wide open and exciting for them, and they saw connections that we don't seem to see anymore between, astronomy and music and mathematics and biology, and I found that really, really exciting. And of course the one preeminent figure from that time was Aristotle, and so I sort of embarked on this big two-book project, which, the first book, The Golden Mean, being about him, and then this second book, The Sweet Girl, being about his daughter. I decided really early on in the writing of the books that I was going to limit myself to what they call primary sources, which was basically material written as close to the time as I was writing about as possible, because if I went on reading sort of the sources written in the 2 millennia after his death, I could have gone on reading and researching forever and never gotten to the end of it. So I read Aristotle's own writings, I read biographies of Aristotle and Alexander and people like that, written by ancient biographers, and then I just allowed myself to be a fiction writer, and I figured the reader is smart enough to know that it's shelved under fiction and not nonfiction, and so they'll understand that I've had to take some liberties to sort of fill in the gaps there. In terms of writing about Pythias, Aristotle's daughter, it was really much more of a blank slate because so little is known about her. We basically know her name, and we know what Aristotle's intentions for her were after his death, because we have his will, and after that nothing is known. So there I had a whole lot more scope to just make stuff up. I think that what struck me the most about people coming to this book was that they were so engaged by the subject matter, and that they saw connections between the past and the present, which I saw as well in the writing of it, and that was really the most rewarding thing for me. Like, they felt that her story and the things that she was living through, the experiences that she was having, were still relevant to a young woman growing up today and sort of finding her independence and asserting herself in the world. Oh my goodness, I have so many literary heroes. I love short fiction, so people like Alice Munro, of course, huge. George Saunders, I love. Laurie Moore, I can go on forever and ever. Joy Williams, Amy Hempel. Um, as far as contemporary writers, oh, for instance, I just recently finished reading Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Americana, which I adored. It opened up a whole world to me that I knew nothing about. She's writing about, Nigeria and all kinds of stuff, and I think that's the thing that I love about fiction, is that it sort of gives me access to worlds that I couldn't get to otherwise, and so yeah, that's just an example of something recently that's really sort of hit that mark for me.